This episode is brought to you by iZotope. Our friends over at iZotope create the most thoughtfully and intuitively designed software for audio repair, mixing, and mastering. I use their tools every day for the podcast, and I love it. And I think you will too. Go over to iZotope.com and check it out. That's iZotope.com. iZotope. Use the code FRET10 at checkout for a 10% discount. That's all caps, F-R-E-T, and the number 10.
Allow me to live and breathe like a man.
You've heard his words on classic albums like Pacific Ocean Blue and Friends. His 1969 collaboration with Brian Wilson, A World of Peace Must Come, gained almost legendary status as one of pop's most storied lost albums, before being resurrected to great acclaim by Light in the Attic in 2008. Now you're cordially invited to take a trip into the mind of poet and songwriter Stephen J. Kalinich. Heyday Again Records presents I Love My Life, a postcard from one of the last standing poets of peace and excitation. Order your copy today. I Love My Life by Stephen J. Kalinich and Friends. You'll see why heavy hitters like Brian Wilson, Dennis Wilson, Paul McCartney, Steve Cropper, P.F. Sloan, and Diana Ross have all worked with him. I Love My Life by Stephen J. Kalinich. Order today at realgonemusic.com. Again, that's realgonemusic.com. Future Prophet Records presents Gargoyle's new single, Alligator Head. This and other essential singles from the New York Underground, all designed to catapult today's great bands into tomorrow, and all available at futureprophetrecords.com. That's P-R-O-P-H-E-T, futureprophetrecords.com.
It's a great song. It's one of those things that it's just in your head all the time. But the start of it is so weird. It's just like, it sounds like they're out of time. And like, it's just such a bizarre way to start the song. It's like, boom, boom. Yeah. Just so it's so janky, but the song is great. But it just as the first note of the album, like I would have started out like maybe like that's
interesting, yeah,
or something like that.
So that moment in the Flint Flon song is the intro that was never used to The Stranger.
Maybe, yeah.
That's brilliant.
But it's a great song. It's just an odd thing to start the record out with.
Welcome to Discograffiti, the music obsessives podcast that gives freaks like you and me the chance to connect with the brotherhood obsessed with rating the entire discography of every single artist and band that ever mattered. I'm your host, Dave Gebroe, and with 4 new episodes each week, you're going to gain a comprehensive knowledge of an act's history and output in the time it takes to listen to one album. Each new guest swings a hard left into an area you either had no idea you needed to know about or know all about and can't believe you're not alone out there. And in this episode, we'll be turning our spray cans on Billy Joel, along with our special guest, Unrest'S Mark Robinson. In this episode, I talk with the epitome of DIY punk spirit, who can also write a pop hook like the best of them, the great Mark Robinson. Of Unrest, Grenadine, Air Miami, Flint Flon, Uncomfortable Police, et al. And together we discuss Billy Joel's entire recorded output. If you're a longtime listener, then you know that I've harbored a longtime hatred of Billy Joel. So why the sudden turnaround in taste, you ask? Discograffiti's Mark Robinson tackles Billy Joel, but Only Metaphorically series dissects every last release Billy Joel's ever had a hand in creating. Part 3 tackles the 2 mid-70s records that, after their release, wound up turning Billy Joel into a superstar, Turnstiles and The Stranger. Here are just a few of the many things that Mark discusses with Discograffiti in this podcast. The audible differences between the original James Garcio-produced version of Turnstiles and his self-produced released version, the band that Billy poached in order to find the musicians with whom he'd spend most of his career playing, the Turnstiles track that most Billy Joel diehards hold to their hearts as an all-time favorite, what generally happens when Billy tries his hand at reggae, the massive producer that almost helmed The Stranger before Phil Ramone stepped in, the mind-blowing level of success which The Stranger achieved, the song Billy wanted to drop from the track list which wound up exploding like crazy, the hit whose melody Billy had accidentally stolen before rewriting it as Movin' Out, the connective thread between 10cc's I'm Not in Love and Just the Way You Are, the 3 separate songs that were combined into scenes from an Italian restaurant, why, regardless of your favorite Billy Joel track, Vienna may just be Billy Joel's best song of all time, and an in-depth deep dive on every song off Turnstiles and The Stranger. Here's what you're missing this week if you're not a Patreon member. If you're a member at the private tier, you're missing out on our exclusive interview with Billy Joel producer Phil Ramone, not to mention the early release, ad-free, super extended director's cut of the 52nd Street episode of our Billy Joel series. If you're a member at the Lieutenant tier, you're missing out on our exclusive Phil Ramone interview. And if you're a member at the Major tier, well, you're not missing a single thing, because the Major tier gives you access to everything that Discograffiti releases. So don't miss out. Open up your listening app right now and subscribe. And away we go then! Billy Joel is kind of known to be your standard classic New Yorker. And, you know, that temperament does not handle itself very well in the Los Angeles climate. So those 3 years had to have been difficult for him. By all accounts, it was. And he came back with Elizabeth to New York City in 1975. He was literally traveling on a Greyhound bus from Los Angeles, returning back home when the idea for New York State of Mind came to him. After 3 years of trying to make a living and boost his career out in the bullshit smog out there, the inspiration for the song hit him, and the song was written literally as soon as Billy arrived home. He says in about an hour. Turnstiles, the big thing on this record, where Billy wound up growing and coming into his own, was his touring band, who also played on his record. So he got his band together, which I found out in researching was the members of a band called Topper. The bassist, Doug Stegmeyer, and then Doug brought the rest of the guys, Liberty DeVito, Russell Javors, Howie Emerson, and the only guy who wasn't from the band Topper, Richie Cannata. And this is the first time that Billy's band played on one of his studio albums. And
Liberty, or Liberatori, as his Christian name is, was in a famous band. Am I wrong? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Oh, okay. He used to play in the same band. Shit. I thought he was in a famous band. Maybe it was similar to something else. Sorry.
Turnstiles went single platinum. And like we'd mentioned, it's sort of a homecoming record. It's a concept album about New York in a way of thinking, just as the last one had been about LA. So some songs look back at the West Coast, like Say Goodbye to Hollywood, I've Loved These Days. And then, you know, there's a few that look at New York, like New York State of Mind. And then obviously Miami 2017, Seen the Lights Go Out on Broadway.
We should clarify also, when you say it went platinum, that was like over time. When you say it went platinum, it sounds like it was a gigantic hit.
Right. So, you know, it is platinum now, I should say. For all I know, it went platinum yesterday, but it's platinum today.
But not at the time.
What Billy said about Turnstiles is, I wanted some rock and roll. I wanted the volume that we played at live. I wanted that somehow represented on a recording. Say Goodbye to Hollywood clearly is massive pastiche, but I think it works. Are you a fan of this one?
I like it. Yeah, I wrote not my favorite, but not terrible. I mean, I think that the pastiche thing is just a little bit over the top. It almost sounds like it belongs on An Innocent Man. But yeah, I think it's fine. I wouldn't have chosen it as the opener, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, with his pilfering of stylistic possibilities, this is, to me, probably the closest that he's come to outright theft. Because, I mean... It's not just a hat tip. He's taking the Be My Baby intro drum beat. He wrote the song with Ronnie Spector in mind, and then she wound up covering it and making a single out of it with the E Street Band in 1977. But, it's almost like Weird Al without a punchline. So that kind of prevents me from thinking it's as good as some of the other great songs on the record, but I do really like it. It's better on Songs in the Attic, though.
Yes. I mean, for a live album, all those versions sound better than the originals.
Yeah, agreed. Now, the second song, to me, I feel like, and in my rooting around and talking with Billy Joel fans, Summer Highland Falls is the secret handshake of Billy Joel fans who know his great sleeper material. This is, I think, a monster song. It's so good.
Yeah, it should have been the first track, maybe. I think it could be on The Stranger. He's kind of starting to write these songs that are just like incredibly catchy. Yeah. And it's really good. I think it's probably the best one on the record. He
actually has said that this is one of his two favorite songs, along with Vienna. He's also called other songs his favorite, but Vienna and Summer Highland Falls, at one time in his life at least, he thought were his two favorites.
It's a hit.
Amazing tune. If you hate Billy Joel and think he's not capable of any depth whatsoever as a writer, just listen to Summer Highland Falls. The next track is an absolute abomination, which is such a shame. It's such a shame because All You Want to Do Is Dance is the only song that not only sucks, but that isn't even great. I think everything else on the record except this song is great. And this is so terrible. I mean, it's like a shopping list of things I hate about music. It's a reggae song about someone who wants to go back to the 50s and dance. I mean, it's like 3 or 4 things that I hate about music.
Yeah, it's the Caribbean kind of reggae thing. It's the worst song on the record. I wrote not great, but not completely awful.
That's being very generous. I think it's completely awful. And I don't know if you know this, but Only the Good Die Young was initially supposed to be reggae. And I have the version of it where he does it in reggae. And he was going to do it, except Libertorio or Liberty or whatever he was going by at the time, hated reggae and said, Billy, let's do it like this, and gave me the beat.
Wow, interesting.
Thank God. Then New York State of Mind, which is, I think a standard. Even when I hated Billy Joel, I had to admit that this really is just a really good song about New York. Truly beautiful and well deserving of that status.
Agreed. I like it.
Never released as a single, which I think is strange.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like singles are rarely like quiet piano ballads because that just tends to not chart. But so I can see why they didn't choose that one. But the one they did choose for the single is like bizarre.
It's Say Goodbye to Hollywood, right?
I think it's James was the first single, right?
Oh my God, you're right. That is so weird. Look, I like James.
Yeah, it's all right.
What I appreciate most about it is that it's on an album where the songs are trying to clobber you over the head with how great they are, and this one hangs back. But it's that reason specifically that it's strange to me that it's a single.
Yes.
That is really weird. I mean, it's very subdued. It's got that Fender Rhodes sound to it,
right? Which
I love, but it sounds like Babe by Styx.
It's essentially Just the Way You Are part 1,
right,
in terms of the instrumentation and the song.
Yeah
But not as catchy and not as good.
Billy says that he thought that the song was too preachy, which probably explains why it's really not performed very often, nearly as much as the other songs on this record. But I like James. I think James is a really cool song. Prelude, Angry Young Man, I think is awesome. Amazing lyrics. I don't know if you listen to them, but it's a conversation between like your primordial James Dean-like angry young man and a bitter older guy who used to be that. And it's really smart.
Yeah, I do listen to the lyrics. I just sometimes won't completely concentrate on them. But I did catch that, yes.
I only do that for the show. Otherwise, I listen to it exactly like you do.
Sure. Yeah, I think this one, it's another one that's just like, okay, you can hear The Stranger. Here it is.
Right.
This production's not as good.
Right. The rapid-fire piano stuff at the beginning was supposed to emulate the drum pattern from Wipeout.
Right. Which is cool bizarre. Yeah. It is cool. I was like, I can't really hear that. But
yeah, me neither, but I'm glad that was the leap off point.
Yeah.
I really love this song. The perspective shift, especially the melody, it's spot on. And again, for those who make fun of Billy Joel, like I used to do incessantly, the words here are incredible. The melody's fantastic. The musicianship is insane and literally impossible for almost every musician on the planet to emulate or to even come close in trying. And then I've Loved These Days is a terrific ballad that folds in all kinds of stuff, whiny pathos, great humor, and grand excess to a multi-layered blend which may, although I don't have any documentation to that effect, it may invent the power ballad.
Oh, interesting.
It's a depressing and very funny goodbye to the decadence of Los Angeles.
Yeah, I think it's solid album track.
This was released as the album's second single. And in the lyrics, which are basically about a couple that spend their time placating themselves with 4 indulgences that start with the letter C: champagne, cocaine, Cabernet, and caviar. I love that element as well about the song. And then I love the aspect of the song where reality is sort of corroded and decayed by the synthetic trappings of LA. So it starts with piano and strings, and then synth is mixed into it. And I feel like that was thematically intentional, but maybe I'm just overthinking the whole thing. But I love also that Don Henley has listed this song as one of his 10 favorite Billy Joel songs, because this is like the Don Henley story.
I thought you were going to say top 10 songs of all time by anybody.
It should be. Then it ends with Miami 2017, Seen the Lights Go Out on Broadway, which is literally a science fiction song about an apocalypse occurring in New York because of all the people in LA who were saying that New York's falling apart in the 70s when Billy wasn't living there. Billy said he thought, if New York's going to go down the tubes, I'm going to go back to New York, which is like a true asshole New Yorker. So obviously when 9/11 happened, this was pulled out of the mothballs and became a huge song for him to perform and became a significant track for him to do.
I don't know if I was aware of this song until my kid sent it to me like a year or two ago. And he was like, check this out.
Are they big fans of Billy Joel or this song?
No, I mean, these kids, there'll be a TikTok trend and that song will just become popular. Like Fleetwood Mac is more popular than they ever have been before.
Right.
Because somebody hears the song and
the skateboarder
they share it. The skateboard guy, right. So anyway, so this is one of those songs and I was like, wow, this is intense. This is incredible. It actually, I just kind of had this revelation just right now that it sounds like a track, especially with that synth intro, very sci-fi sounding. It sounds like it's a track from that Paul Kantner album, which I think is technically the first Jefferson Starship album. It won the Hugo Award for, which is a literary award, Blows Against the Empire, which is a great record. Kind of reminds me of that. But also, this might be, I don't know if the Elton John band had something to do with the arrangement, but it sounds, those guitars are like so Davy Johnstone, who's the guitar player from the Elton John band. I mean, the instrumentation on this just sounds so Elton John. Yeah,
it does. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I see them as, there's obviously something that links them together, but they're also very different.
Right. I mean, they might have maybe they recorded that one in Colorado with the Elton John band, and they're like, well, let's just stick with this arrangement because it just sounds so good.
Yeah. So this is, beyond lyrically what we talked about, it being the slant, the Miami aspect is due to the fact that tons of New Yorkers and in New Jersey retired to Miami. So the narrator is actually talking to his grandchildren in the year 2017 about what he saw during the destruction of New York. And that is pretty wild for a guy who's not really given much credit for having deep lyrics. Great song. Great concept, great melody, the dynamics are inarguable, and it's the only logical close to this New York love letter of an album.
Great last song.
Turnstiles was Billy's first true swipe at the brass ring. It's an LP that boasts thematic cohesion, lyrical profundity, endless replay value, a disparate genre buffet that typically works, and a very firm grasp of textural dynamics. The only thing it lacks is a 100% lack of Caucasian reggae, and that's the only strike against it. At only 8 tracks, having one dud is unfortunate, but 7 of the tracks out of the 8 are excellent. This was a big move forward and was all the table setting that Billy needed in order to be able to make an album as strong as The Stranger. The only missing puzzle piece fell into place directly after this came out, and so when Phil Ramone entered the scene, it was all over, and for about 10 years, Billy Joel basically ruled the earth. Turnstiles is the direct prelude to that clean sweep, the likes of which the music industry rarely experiences. I'll give this 4 3/4 stars.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm wondering why my rating scale is definitely lower than yours. I think because I'm thinking of like, okay, Joy Division Closer is like 4 3/4 or 5. So like Billy Joel is a little lower on my scale.
And that's fair. I mean, you can have whatever it is.
Right. And we did have a discussion. I think, yes, that was another texting discussion that was a little crazy about in the Court of the Crimson King, and then you were disparaging one of the songs. But anyway,
Barely, I think.
So I gave it, I wanted to say one more thing before I rate this. It's another great cover. And apparently it's Billy Joel in the turnstiles of the New York subway. And it looks like they're probably in a real subway station doing a photo shoot. And there are supposedly 1, 2, 3, each of the characters in the background. It's Billy standing in front of the turnstile. And then there's these other subway riders behind him. And each character is supposed to represent a song. So there's a woman in a red dress wearing headphones, which is a reference to All You Want to Do Is Dance. And unfortunately, I can't remember the rest of them. But anyway, I give it a 3 1/4. So I think it's solid. I think it has some great songs, but I think there's some, like, James is okay, and then, All You Want to Do Is Dance is not great. So it's good. I would put it in my collection for sure. I would buy the record. I
mean, it's really weird. Do you know how far up the charts this went? I would think, based on the songs that are on it, that this did well. It peaked at number 122.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is not... None of the singles were successful. Yeah. And because of that, nobody bought it. And he's still an unknown, essentially, except for Piano Man, I suppose.
Right. So he's basically on the verge of being dropped by Columbia at this point.
Right.
So Piano Man was unexpectedly successful. And then the records after that were all disappointing. So this is where, he's got his band. They're in place. He approaches George Martin to produce. And after meeting with Billy for Billy's next record, which I'm not sure if he had the songs for The Stranger quite yet, but George did say that he was interested in producing the album, but wanted to use session players. Billy said, no fucking way. And Columbia Records introduced Billy to Phil Ramone, who wound up being the last piece of the puzzle. They met each other at Fontana di Trevi, which was an Italian restaurant near Carnegie Hall, where Billy had been playing at the time and where Phil had seen one of the shows. That, I believe, was the restaurant that inspired scenes from an Italian restaurant. Another huge choice made was to make Elizabeth his manager. His wife became his manager. It ruined his marriage, but it made him an absolute superstar. She killed it for him. They called their company Home Run, as you and I had talked about, and the gang that gathered around them were called the Mean Brothers, and they were a true unit. And now, finally, all the pieces are in place, and they're truly in business. Welcome to Phase 3, Superstars Breathe Rarefied Air, 1977 to 1983. We start with September 29th, 1977's The Stranger. This is Billy's 5th album. It went 12 times platinum. So in other words, it went diamond.
Back in the day, it went 10. You know what I mean? Like it was a gigantic success. I guess I just want to reference the Turnstiles going platinum reference. It was popular out of the gate.
Yeah. So this one, unlike the other ones, which accrued sales over time, especially retrospectively, now Billy Joel is like Fonzie in Evel Knievel, for God's sake. But it never went to number 1. It spent 6 weeks at number 2, and this was actually Columbia's best-selling album release of all time. It beat out Bridge Over Troubled Water, and the singles from it, Just the Way You Are, went to number 3. Moving Out, Anthony's song, and She's Always a Woman, made it to number 17. Only the Good Die Young, number 24. And then a couple other songs, Scenes from an Italian Restaurant and Vienna, are staples of his career. It won 2 awards at the Grammys, Record of the Year and Song of the Year for Just the Way You Are. And it's on every best of list ever. And Billy, on Making the Stranger, it was finally not like pulling teeth to record. That's basically what he has to say about it.
That's great.
Also, I love that album cover because for an album that was such a huge hit, it was a really uninviting album cover.
It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's sullen. It's black and white.
Yeah.
Billy sitting in a bed with a mask next to him and boxing gloves on the wall. The mask can be interpreted as a way for Billy to hide his identity or his past, while the gloves refer to his youth since he was once a boxer. And Elizabeth, as she tells it in the documentary, said to the company brass, you can pick the first single as long as I can pick the second one. They picked Moving Out, which did okay, and then she picked Just the Way You Are, which made him a superstar. It changed his life.
Which he did not want to include on the album.
Right. George Martin, after the album was released, reportedly wrote Billy a letter following the massive success in which he congratulated Billy and reflected that he was wrong about the band. You know, I have to say before we start that I was never able to sit comfortably with this record because, like I said, I always hated Billy Joel, but I always knew that this was a perfect record. So how could a guy who sucked so bad make a piece of work that literally was faultless? Oh, hi, I'm Dave Gebroe. I threw my career as a licensed hearing instrument specialist in the trash, sold my house, and moved to the East Coast with my wife and 5-year-old son in order to focus on making the ultimate weekly podcast for music obsessives thrive. But weekly wasn't enough for me, so I bumped it up to 4 shows a week. Becoming a subscriber to Discograffiti's Patreon gives you access to hundreds of exclusive episodes. As a 2-show-per-week private, you get the weekly show by and for our Patreon family, the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast. As a 3-show-a-week lieutenant, you'll get early release, ad-free, extended director's cuts of the main show. They're the shows as they were intended to be heard. Plus, you'll gain access to half the Patreon archive and the upcoming Beach Boys Behind the Mirror companion episodes, which will feature dozens of special guests from within the Beach Boys camp talking about and rating their music. But as a 4-show-per-week major, you'll be drowning in a flood of must-hear binge listening, because I'll be bombarding you with episodes about super cool bands that are too subterranean for free Fridays. It's like going to music college, but with a tuition that makes all kinds of sense. Plus, our entire Patreon archive is yours. Discograffiti's Top 10, our Buried Treasure show, Rock Cousteau, our Slag Off show, Queasy Listening, and the Private Press with Paul Major. And all that for the price of only a cup of coffee a week. Times are tough, you say? Fret not, because there's a $1 tier. Or you could just join as a basic member and buy episodes piecemeal from our Patreon shop. Don't risk feeling badly about yourself by not giving. Check out patreon.com/discograffiti to find the tier that's right for you. Once again, that's patreon.com/discograffiti. This episode is brought to you in part by Bespoke LA. Located in the Fairfax district of Los Angeles, Bespoke LA is the modern podcaster's dream come true. It's got 2 podcast pods available, one with audio only and the other with both audio and video. Just think, you can start your own podcast tomorrow without investing a single penny in equipment. What, you don't have experience editing? Don't even sweat it. For an additional fee, Bespoke LA can edit your podcast. Or not, it's entirely up to you. Rates start at $75 an hour with discounts if you book 4 sessions at once. Go to bespokela.com/podcast. That's BSPOKELA.com/podcast for more information or to book your time today. And be sure to tell them that Dave sent you for a one-time 25% discount. I mean, this album to me is faultless. There's 2 songs on it that aren't as famous as the rest, the 2 final songs. And even those I love.
I don't love I could live without either of those songs.
Yeah, I love everything about this record. So the first song that they recorded for the record was Moving Out, and it's the opening track.
Right.
Billy said in a Q&A session that he initially wrote the song's lyrics to the tune of the song Laughter in the Rain by Neil Sedaka. He did that without even realizing the similarity until Libertario or Liberty or whatever we're going to call him.
I think Liberty is what he calls himself, yeah.
Yeah, but I like Libertario. Liberty pointed it out. He didn't want to waste all the words he'd come up with, so he rewrote the song and came up with a new melody that fit the lyrics. And this, what can you say? I mean, this song is terrific.
It's a great one. I have a band called Flint Flon, who we talked about, I think, on our podcast. And I nicked the little heart attack, part for one of our songs.
Oh, yeah. I don't even think you told me that during the podcast.
Probably not. The interesting thing about this song, like, I think it's a great song. Like, it's one of those things that it's just in your head all the time. But the start of it is so weird. It's just like, it sounds like they're out of time. And like, it's just such a bizarre way to start the song. It's like, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Just so it's so janky, but the song is great. But it just as the first note of the album, like I would have started out like maybe like heart attack,
that's interesting, yeah,
or something like that.
So that moment in the Flint Flon song is the intro that was never used to The Stranger.
Maybe, yeah.
That's brilliant.
But it's a great song. It's just an odd thing to start the record out with. It just starts so weirdly, but it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. It starts like it's in the middle of the song somehow. And you're
right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, the Broadway show was named after this, which featured all Billy Joel songs and, did super well. There were 1,307 performances of it. But yeah, great tune. The Stranger, which begins and ends with the quiet melody, which is he calls the Stranger theme, and is played on piano and whistled by Billy. That's one of the great Phil Ramone stories. As a producer, Billy whistled the theme and asked Phil, what instrument should we use to convey this melody? And Phil said, well, I think you just did it. It should be whistled. That's what a producer is for, I think.
Yeah, I like that story. That was a good story.
When I think of what does a producer really do, like a true function of a producer, I don't think about Brian Eno erasing your tapes while you're home sleeping after a long day's work.
Does he do that?
Yeah, because it sounds too much like you. He tries to play like head games with the artist. He's gotten in apparently physical altercations for doing that.
He's like erasing stuff that could be on the box set, though.
Right.
the original take one or whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Anything that, when he's working with any of his like stable artists, he would erase stuff that sounds, quote, too much like you.
That's interesting because I recorded with someone all the time that has a similar mindset. Trash it.
Is it Uncomfortable Please?
Yeah.
Really? But I would think that you love that kind of ideology because you work with certain rules, don't you?
I mean, we try to not repeat ourselves, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I am sympathetic to the thought, but I'm also like, but when we do when this is, in 20 years, when we do the box set, we're going to need all that stuff.
Right.
For the 10th CD or the 12th DVD that's going to be included in there if people still have some sort of physical media thing going on.
I hope they do. The rhythm in the song came about while Billy was toying around with an Ace-Tone Rhythm Ace drum machine. Those.
Oh, yeah. I have one of those. I've used it extensively.
Are those as amazing as I think they are?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I think that's what's used on There's a Riot Going On.
Okay.
So I love everything about this. I think my favorite weird factoid about The Stranger is that it's been sampled a lot, but it's been sampled in my favorite Snoop song, The Shiznit. And I had no idea that was the case. Although he says it's open to interpretation, Billy says that this can be seen as a song about a man with schizophrenia.
Oh, okay.
Great song. This is one of my favorites on the record. I cannot listen to Just the Way You Are without at least being on the precipice of tears. If not,
I have to talk more. I have to talk about The Stranger.
Okay, go, please.
That weird, because you think you're like, oh, the song's over. And then this other thing fades back in and it's like him whistling again. And it's kind of this weird reprise inside of the song, which is another super weird thing.
But do you like that aspect or no?
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's just every time I hear it, it's almost like, what's going on? Like my brain is like, what's going on exactly?
But then not only that, that. He reprises it at the begin. Well, he does it at the beginning, reprises it at the end, and then reprises it at the end of the album.
Yes, right.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You know, there's a double reprise.
Yeah.
Just the Way You Are. I did this like 65-minute road trip movie with my family, and Just the Way You Are I used as a sequence with my son. And ever since then, I cannot hear the song without losing it. And again, you know, even though it's totally cornball, I mean, look, Paul McCartney has said his favorite song of all time is God Only Knows. But the one song, he says it in the documentary, the one song that he wished he'd written is not God Only Knows. It's Just the Way You Are.
Interesting.
This song is just a total masterpiece, I think. It's about Elizabeth, not that it matters, but it does to him because, you know, after they divorced in 1982, he rarely performed the song live until the 2000s. Like the song was put in a box and put away. And during some performances of the song around the time of him getting divorced, Libertario would jokingly parody the lyrics in the chorus as she got the house, she got the car.
Right. I saw that.
Yeah. And I want to say a couple things about the production. The sax solo by Phil Woods is just like Baker Street. It couldn't be any better than it is. Also, mainly, the song shares some similarities to I'm Not in Love by 10cc. The keyboard and background vocal tape loop that Billy Joel and Phil Ramone used. Phil Ramone later revealed in an interview that they were huge fans of that song. And they wanted to recreate that sound and that aura. So I think the thing that puts it over the top as a song that puts you in an almost altered mind state is that loop.
I think you're right. This is essentially my introduction to Billy Joel. So I think Moving Out was the first single, as you just said. That was probably the first Billy Joel song I heard, but really the first one I heard was Just the Way You Are. And so I'm too young to be able to afford records, and I don't know if I would have bought this record, but Top 40 Radio is my way of listening to music at the time. So, you know, I think this song, I think it's a great song. I've heard it probably way too many times. It has a cheesy production to it. Although I love the 10cc part of it. So I would, if I had to skip over a song besides the last two, I would probably skip over this one. But it still is a great song and it fits right in there. And if you're listening to the album, you know, it's like, okay, 3 for 3. Let's keep going, you know.
Right. A few aspects of this that are worth noting. Billy says that the melody and chord progression for the song came to him while he was dreaming. He then forgot about the melody shortly after, and then he was in a business meeting, and he was like, oh, whoa, and then, you know, quickly jotted it down. And originally, like you and I spoke about briefly, considered keeping the song off the album and dismissed it as a gloppy ballad that was out of place compared to the rest of the album, which it is, and it's also why it fits so beautifully after The Stranger and before Scenes. And, you know, Phil disagreed and brought Linda Ronstadt and Phoebe Snow into the studio to prove that it was worth including. And when they heard the song, they just fell down, basically. And they told him he had to do it.
It has that like mid 70s. I mean, talk about I'm Not in Love, which I think is 1975. It just has that sound. And it's an infectious melody and all that.
Yeah, the melodies. It's cheesy and heartfelt and beautiful. And it really just covers all bases. And on Howard Stern in 2010, Billy said that the inspiration for writing the name of the song and how it sounds in the chorus was directly taken from the last line in the Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons song Ragdoll, which also was a much shittier inspiration for the song Uptown Girl.
Oh, interesting.
So enough about that one, but yeah, to me this is not a skipper. This is a crucial song to hear. Then comes Scenes from an Italian Restaurant at 7 minutes and 37 seconds, the longest of Billy's rock music studio cuts, only surpassed by live recordings, and 5 tracks from Billy's 2001 classical album.
Yeah, it's great. I actually at the time I was in I had started writing songs. This is I'm 9 or something. And I was in fiction. I made up these fictional bands. So I would have real people in my 5th grade class, and I would recruit them into my band, but there were no instruments. There were no rehearsals. There were no performances, but I would write these songs for this band, this theoretical band. I think the first band was called the Soul System. But anyway, I had a song called I Found My Love in in an Italian restaurant, and I don't think I had even heard this song, but I think I just saw it written on the back of the album cover at the record store, which is really, it was like a Sears style department store called Best, and they had a record store area, so I was inspired. But no, it's a great song. Yeah,
that is awesome. So a few aspects about this song. Fontana di Trevi, the restaurant across from Carnegie Hall, that's apparently the restaurant that inspired the song. The song's signature line, a bottle of red, a bottle of white, whatever kind of mood you're in tonight, was actually spoken to Billy by a waiter at that restaurant while Billy ordered.
Wow. Are they getting royalties?
They should.
For lyric writing?
It should be like a family productions thing.
Yes.
And then in an interview on The Late Show with Colbert, Billy named this song as his very favorite song he's ever written. Most importantly for this tune, Billy cited the second side of Abbey Road as the primary influence. So the full song is composed of 3 shorter, different songs. There's the Italian restaurant song, Things Are Okay in Oyster Bay, and the Ballad of Brenda and Eddie. And then he took those 3 songs, which were really not songs. They were like fragments of unfinished songs. And then that approach that Abbey Road and Bohemian Rhapsody had, he stitched together a Frankenstein masterpiece. And Phil helped intertwine them with backing orchestration. This blows me away. According to Billy, it was recorded as one composition in about 7 takes, with him and the other musicians playing together live in the studio.
Wow.
That strikes me as insane. I don't know how they were able to achieve that. I really don't. Yeah, that's mind-blowing. And this song, again, is perfect. You know, even as a little kid, I was really drawn to this song. I would play it over and over again. And I can't find one thing that's wrong with this song.
I concur.
And then, of course, you have Brenda and Eddie being the main characters of Moving Out, for whatever it's worth. Great end to the first side. And then you flip it, and, you know, later in life, as time marched on in his career, not at that time, Vienna became a huge song for Billy. And I'd have to say that watching the documentary, the song that stayed with me the most was Vienna. And listening to it now, I mean, listening to it for research and for what we're doing, I am moved tremendously. And even the post that I did with you to announce this podcast, this series, I used Vienna as the song to back the picture. And somebody had made a statement of, oh my God, I never actually listened to the lyrics until now. It was the B-side to Just the Way You Are, but like we said, its popularity has grown considerably. And it is, as of July 2025, it's Billy Joel's 3rd most streamed song ever on Spotify. Behind Piano Man and Uptown Girl, it's had more than 850 million streams.
That's a lot.
Vienna is a metaphor. He was using it as a metaphor for old age. For him, it was about going to Vienna and finding his dad who had abandoned them. But what he had meant it for is you don't have to tackle everything in your 20s. You know, something of substance in your life is going to be waiting for you around the corner when you're as old as Mark and I are. Right? I mean,
I think I knew this song and I didn't know the title, but I did see that it is surprisingly the most popular song on the album.
Yeah, it is very, very surprising. It is.
I mean, just because it wasn't a single or anything like that.
Yeah. He said something in a 2008 interview that shed all the light I needed to hear about what the song was. And he said that it conveys that you don't have to squeeze your whole life into your 20s and 30s trying to make it, trying to achieve that American dream, getting in the rat race and killing yourself. You have a whole life to live. I kind of used Vienna as a metaphor. There is a reason for being old, a purpose. It's beautiful. I mean, it's probably the most poetic moment of Billy's entire career.
I concur.
His piano trills, just at the beginning, I mean, I feel my heart stopping. There's so much emotion packed in there.
For some reason, the title, I guess because I didn't really associate the title with the song before, but all I can think of is the Ultravox song.
Oh, Vienna, great song.
Vienna.
And then, you know, in a classic case of Billy Joel changing his favorite song every day, in a July 2008 New York Times article, Billy cited this as one of his 2 favorite songs, along with Summer Highland Falls.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, Only the Good Die Young, another classic, controversial for its time. there were attempts to censor the song that made it go shooting up the charts. And he talked about it in the documentary. The single it was kind of struggling to perform, and then it exploded. The minute they banned it, the album started shooting up the charts. And he says that the part of the lyrics that virtually all of the song's Catholic critics missed is that the boy in the song failed to get anywhere with the girl, and she kept her chastity. It was inspired by a girl named Virginia Davis. According to Billy, he saw Virginia Davis looking at him while he was playing in his high school band, The Echoes, which I'm still resentful at you for not having listened to those two tracks on an obscure box set. And that was the event, Virginia looking at him, that had him hooked onto the prospect of being a musician.
Interesting.
Only the Good Die Young was written by Billy while opening for the Beach Boys in Knoxville, Tennessee, at which point it was slower paced and was a reggae tune. And he even fucking sang it in a Jamaican accent. So,
wow. Where's that one on the box set?
Thank God Liberty said to Billy, "Why are you singing like that? The closest you've been to Jamaica was the Long Island Railroad." So thankfully for us, Liberty hated reggae. Phil suggested that the song be played as a straight 4/4 piece. Liberty played a shuffle beat, and Hugh McCracken is the guitar player on that, because I think they were still using session guitarists at that point.
Okay. Yeah.
If you want to hear the shitty reggae version, it's on the My Lives box set.
It's a great one. It was a hit back in the day.
Yeah, it was. And then She's Always a Woman, which is like Just the Way You Are, but not quite as good.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe it is as good, but it doesn't have that 70s kind of pop top 40 kind of sound to it. But yeah, I like it. Yeah. I feel like that would have been a great closer for the album.
Yeah, that probably would have worked better. Sequencing wise, maybe it feels kind of tossed in here. But this one, Billy tried to stylize as a song that would be sung by Gordon Lightfoot. Totally influenced by Gordon Lightfoot here, in his mellow acoustic guitar ballads. And he said in an interview that he was attempting to replicate the finger picking that was common in folk guitar music. And the meter of the song is 6/8. And it's also the only time that Billy Joel ever used mellotron flutes as an instrument in his entire career is in this song.
Damn, I got to go look back and listen to that.
Yeah, I like the little details like that. I find to be super interesting. Do you have anything else about She's Always a Woman?
No, just that it's the last of the good songs on the record.
See, that's where I disagree. See, Get It Right the First Time. I mean, the two unknowns of the album are the last two. It's really weird that they're kind of stockpiled at the end of the record. And there's even, in Get It Right the First Time, there's even a melodic curly cue that feels like a conscious callback to scenes from an Italian restaurant. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where he goes, oh. That he literally just takes it wholesale and puts it in the song. And I feel like it's a conscious motif-like tie-in, like the Stranger theme being brought back 2 times. I think Get It Right the First Time could have been a single.
Really? Wow. I mean, I think it's not as bad as the last song, but I could do with that.
The last song is bad?
I'm not a fan, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to make something epic.
Yeah.
And it does sound like a last song, but I just don't think it's very good.
Yeah, I mean, it is more of a last song than it is a great song. I'll give you that. It's got the gospel back chorus.
Right.
It sounds like a hymn, again, inspired by Elizabeth. But I don't know if you know this. It was written in 1971, and it's a Cold Spring Harbor outtake.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
I have the original version.
Of course you do.
It was like reconstituted as like a big song, but it wasn't a big song initially.
That kind of happens too when you're an artist and you're kind of like on your 5th album, you're like, oh boy, I got to write 10 more songs. Fuck.
Yeah.
And then you're like, is there anything salvageable from the past?
Yeah.
And then I think that happens to a lot of artists. Yeah.
I feel like the Leon Russellisms that he used to pastiche earlier in his career, I feel like he's sunk the basket on this one. But I'm really a sucker for this record. So
yeah, it's a good record.
Here's my capsule review. I'm not sure what The Stranger's concept is supposed to be, but because there's a Pepperesque beginning theme and outro repetition of that theme, I've been led to water, and I'm quite frankly lapping up that shit like it's the last drink I'll ever have. It's such a cohesive piece that it surprises me every time I put it on, and it even did back when I detested Billy Joel. I could never align this with him being bad or deny the power of the record, even though it could never fit comfortably within the framework of hating an artist as much as I did Billy Boy. It truly is perfect. For me, as in literally every last moment on this album is 100% considered and exactly as it should be. Regardless of the kind of talent involved, the stars really do have to align for a work of this kind of magnitude to be assembled. From the playing, which consistently cradles the songcraft in exactly the kinds of finery for which it screams out, to the production, which finally gives a guy who's been struggling in the music business for 10 solid years the partnership he's been yearning for since day one, to the consistency of the songwriting, he'd never exhibited the kind of unrelenting intensity and economy of expression that he'd find here, and he'd never get to repeat it either. The Stranger's a perfect album, and it's a wonderful thing that Billy never tried to make lightning strike twice either, because that was never going to happen. One of the best albums of the 70s, and really just one of the best albums of all time. 5 stars.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with most of what you said. I mean, obviously the stars are aligning. I think mainly, like, he has the new producer, he has all this experience. He has, the rock band is probably, a little more experienced with him and tighter. The album cover is great, as you said. But those last 2 songs, I just can't get past those last 2 songs. But, everything aligned, and he's now, goes from no one ever hearing about, having no idea who he is to a household name.
Right.
And I'm giving it a 4.
Nice.
And, and maybe my scale's a little different. I already talked about my scale, but also going back to the Rolling Stone magazine, I think Rolling Stone topped off at 4.
Right.
But I'm consciously giving it a lower grade because of those last 2 songs. But the first 7, it's incredible.
It really is incredible. I mean, he's batting 1,000, and as much as I'd listened to this record, I knew nothing about those last 2 songs until I forced myself to get to know them for this record.
Sure.
Yeah. And, maybe it's just the headspace I'm in, but at the very least, Get It Right the First Time belongs in the same company, I think. And the last song at least has the kind of grandeur that an album like this calls out for at the end.
Yeah, it is nice. The grandeur, as you're saying, is perfect at the end. Sure.
Also, he never tried, to his credit, to produce A Stranger 2. Mm-hmm. He kept moving, which you gotta give him credit.
Totally. There's some bands that just do the same album over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I really do like about his catalog is that at the very least, up to like 85 or so, somewhere in there, he really was ducking and dodging and growing. Whether or not you liked his music, he was trying new things all the time.
Totally.
All right, that about does it. Stay tuned, because next week brings upon us the 52nd Street episode of our Billy Joel series, featuring Mark Robinson from Unrest'S. Okay, here's the week up ahead. This Sunday, our weekly show within a show, the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast, drops for our Patreon's private tier. These are real people with talent and a burning fire deep inside, just like you and I. Then come Monday, the major tier gets a very special treat. Monday's bonus episode is another Chuck Chat from the Chuck Granada Pet Sounds interview series, this one with legendary producer Phil Ramone. Phil was Billy Joel's most relied upon right-hand man, not to mention the producer of every Billy Joel record during the height of his popularity, from 1977's The Stranger to 1986's The Bridge. Phil won his first production Grammy for his work on Paul Simon's Still Crazy After All These Years in 1975, eventually becoming chairman of the Recording Academy. He also helped produce, with Quincy Jones, 2001's televised A Tribute to Brian Wilson. His credits and accomplishments in the industry are almost literally endless, and what better place to learn about them than Chuck Granada's 2007 memoir, co-written with Phil, Making Records, The Scenes Behind the Music. Phil passed away a few years after this interview in 2013, which makes this posthumously released Chuck Chat yet another priceless buried treasure. There will be a very short sneak peek running publicly for free on Monday morning, but the entirety of the show will only be accessible on the major tier of our Patreon. Don't miss it, or you'll only be getting part of the story. And then on Wednesday, the Lieutenant tier gets their early release, ad-free, super extended director's cut of the 52nd Street episode of our Billy Joel deep dive with Unrest'S Mark Robinson. It's the episode as it was truly intended to be heard, with all the essentials left intact. And then come Friday, everyone else gets to join in on the action. A heartfelt Discograffiti thanks goes out to my beautiful wife and son, Jen and Mason, Mark Robinson, Billy Joel, Rudy Fishman, Becky Boyd, Bespoke LA, my mom, my dad, my incredibly loyal fans, and especially the entire Patreon community, the Soldiers of Sound. I love every last one of you, and this show would not exist without you, my friends. Speaking of friends, it's high time for some new ones. They're in our Facebook group, Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound. That's the best way to find out what's coming up on the show, but there's a hell of a lot more. You get recaps of the day in music history, the ability to pitch questions to guests, polls that put you in the driver's seat on guest and band decisions, access to a thriving creative hub if you're looking for a collaborator, and much, much more. So make sure you don't miss out. You can find the link to the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound Facebook page right there in the show notes. And if you don't mess with the Zuck, no sweat. Just email me at info@discograffiti.com and I'll keep you in the loop. So now that it's done and you want more, another way to dive even deeper into that liminal zone right smack dab in between Mark Robinson and Billy Joel is to leap head first into Dean Wareham Rates Galaxy 500. That's episodes 205 to 207. Sonic Boom rates Spacemen 3, that's 183 to 186. Bill Medley rates The Righteous Brothers, that's 181 and 182. Jenny Toomey and Kristen Thompson rate Tsunami, that's episode 180. Michael Imperioli rates The Smiths, that's 164 and 165. The Pixies, that's episode 18. Nirvana's episode 30. PJ Harvey's episode 12. Bob Mayer rates The Replacements as 28 and 29. And of course, the legendary Mark Robinson series is our 16-hour interview with the man about his entire discography, and that's episodes 128 to 136. And of course, be sure to mark your calendars, because next Friday, December 5th, we're coming at you with the 52nd Street episode of our Mark Robinson Tackles Billy Joel, but not literally deep dive. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. And so, from now till then, don't let our youth go to waste, lads and ladies. It's Discograffiti!